Hi everyone, welcome to Bad Deli. I'm Chris King.
I'm Alexander Void.
Today we're having our film rundown and a special film rundown where it's going to be focused on the Marvel Phase 3 Cinematic Universe. So as you guys know, a few weeks ago, Marvel had an event at the El Capitan Theater and they totally broke down the entire Phase 3 universe and what we can expect with these movies. So we're going to give you our opinions and we're going to break it down to give you our hypothesis of what we can expect from this new universe they introduced. So we're going to jump right into it. Let's actually start off with the end of Phase 2. We know Phase 2 is ending this 2015 in July, so let's go down to the first movie, Age of Ultron, which by now everyone has seen the trailer. Really, really badass trailer. Your thoughts on the Age of Ultron trailer and what you think this kind of tone is going in?
So this trailer is completely dark. It is a movie that I didn't expect because the Avengers was so lighthearted that I didn't expect them to go so dark. But this whole phase has been dark. But I really like it. Ultron looks amazing. Just everything about it. I like that it's a global scale attack rather than just New York. And then a bunch of hints.
Yeah.
Like we see the ballerinas. So if you're a comic book fan, you understand what that is. And then we have a small glimpse of what will lead on to Black Panther.
Yeah.
So your thoughts?
Yeah, it's. I mean, since we've had these leaks for a long time, we've known that certain shots were going to be, shot in or not set in like Africa.
Yes.
So obviously the fictional country of Wakanda is set in Africa. So we did get a lot of shots that looked like it could have been in like an African environment with like Sahara, all that kind of stuff. And you got that glimpse of Claw, Ulysses Claw, and Andy Serkis is brilliant casting. I think in that alone. So I mean, yeah, it's really really dark, like you said, and at first I was really kind of bummed because a lot of movies go through the trope of the second movie always has to be really dark. But you brought up a good point, whereas this whole phase is dark. Yeah. Whereas Phase 1 was really really lighthearted, a little bit too like rock and roll, like kind of look to it. Like in my opinion, it didn't really fit the characters necessarily, but they really kind of got it into their own with Phase 2. You know? Even though like I'm not a massive fan of Iron Man 3, it did kind of set the tone. You know, it was dark. We were like raising the stakes. We now have these. We're getting a little bit more like mythical with all these kind of like different creatures, different villains, all that kind of stuff. So it is interesting seeing how Phase 2 is developed. Ant-Man, July 17th.
So it's strange that Ant-Man is actually ending the Phase 2. So I have a few thoughts about Ant-Man. Not much other than my explosion of Edgar Wright leaving. Yeah. I'm a huge Edgar Wright fan, so I was happy he was going to be in the whole Marvel universe. Even though he was making this before there was a Marvel universe.
Right.
So actually, you go ahead. Your thoughts on Ant-Man?
Yeah, it sucks. I'm also a really big fan of Edgar Wright. Everything he's done with this trilogy with Sean Penn and Nick Frost. It's such good movies.
Simon Pegg.
Simon Pegg. Sorry, Sean Penn. I was thinking about this other actor. Simon Pegg and Nick Frost. I mean, just such a good filmmaker. He's just really, really funny, obviously, and I love that they're going to make Ant-Man one of those kind of funny characters, like Guardians of the Galaxy, And everyone was really upset over the picture of Paul Rudd with the duffel. With like dressing all black, but no one saw that he was carrying a duffel bag. Yes. This is going to be Scott Lang, the guy who was a thief at first, and no one put that together. I don't really know why, but I like where they're going with it. My problem, I still don't have high expectations because of leaving Edgar Wright. Not just because he's a good filmmaker, not just because he's a really great comedic, filmmaker, but because this was, like you said, his passion project. And to me, it doesn't necessarily. I mean, when you're going to give me James Cameron versus someone who knows Ant-Man backwards and forwards and is actually going to put their passion into it, I take that guy over the James Cameron over the, safe choice. Because I like that when someone really understands the character back and forth and knows how to do them justice. That's what's most important, So I don't know. Don't really have too many high expectations with Ant-Man, but it is interesting that it's wrapping up Phase 2.
It's something that you brought up, which is very strange that Ant-Man doesn't have a role in Phase 3. Right. So I guess this is just kind of one of those one-shots.
Yeah, I think it's safe to say at this point it is a one-shot. Which sucks because as much as I'm a fan of Edgar Wright, I'm a bigger fan of Paul Rudd.
Yeah, I like Paul
the guy
Rudd.
is such a good actor.
That would be such a good thing, like that dynamic with Chris Pratt and just think of just everyone together.
It just makes so much sense. Especially, he's an original Avenger. How is he not in Phase 3 or Phase 4? But you know what? At this point, who knows? He could. I mean, we'll get to it eventually, but he could be in Infinity War.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
So you could be a supporting character. I mean, Vision doesn't have his own movie in Phase 3, although he's someone I think kind of, close to that. I like him in a supporting role, but neither of those guys, neither Quicksilver or Scarlet Witch have their own film, but we'll get to that once we go into Phase 3. And Phase 3 is actually going to kick off with Captain America Serpent Society, a.k.a. Civil War. They dropped that bomb when they released the image of Captain America's Serpent Society. A lot of people did not know what it had to do with, which is actually a team within Hydra and within the comic. There's a comic, Captain America's Serpent Society.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah, it's again a one-off, kind of one shoot that only they would really know. But I've seen the cover a long time ago. But it's like a kind of shot off of Hydra.
Cool.
So I would have liked it. It would have been. It actually makes sense for where this direction is going. But like you mentioned in the Age of Ultron trailer, there's so much Civil War in there.
Yes,
it's not even funny.
There is.
So what are you looking forward to in Civil War?
Okay, so of course we all know that Spider-Man was supposed to be in Civil War. Well, actually in the comics, he's in there. We all know that it was a huge Marvel crossover event because it had to deal with every single hero or villain, anything super. So after seeing this and after actually seeing them on stage, it shows that Black Panther may be playing the role of Spider-Man.
Yeah.
But other than that, it sounds cool. I think that the cast is a little too small, but we'll see what they can do.
Yeah, that's always been my concern. Everyone's worried about, okay, well, they don't have identities, but that's very fixed. That wasn't the focus of Civil War either way. That was just the what set it up was the fact that people were arguing over their identities, like you mentioned, Spider-Man. But what really was about was the fact that SHIELD wanted to use, the government wanted to use these superheroes as their own version of SHIELD, as their own army.
Yes.
So that was the main cause, and I think that's going to be what they're going to follow up on. Now that SHIELD has been dissolved, I think the government's going to go right after Iron Man and say, hey, you know what, you did this to us with Ultron, now it's your turn to, kind of pay back, and you're going to set up a new task force of superheroes, and that's where Captain America is going to be with all, liberty and freedom, all that kind of stuff.
Here's a thought. Something that Tony Stark said in the Age of Ultron trailer was that, I can't get the line correctly, but it's along the lines of this kind of everything we started is just falling apart.
Right. Yeah.
So I think what he means there is the new Avengers are the leaders. This is in the Avenger Tower. So we don't need SHIELD anymore. Right. We could handle this ourselves. And now Tony Stark, in the end, he'll be like, you know what? We can't handle this ourselves. Let's just give in to the government stuff, and then that's what starts the Civil War.
Yeah, the Age of Ultron trailer was, as much as it was to set up Age of Ultron, it was a really good setup for Civil War.
Yes.
It had a lot of the tones there, and we'll get to the fact that, Black Panther was on the stage right there, and Chadwick Boseman, you can't get really better casting than Chadwick Boseman for Black Panther, but Doctor Strange, okay, and Civil War is the first movie in Phase 3, so that's what's going to kick off Phase 3. Right after that, in November 2016, Doctor Strange. So we've been wanting this movie for an extremely long time, and it's really interesting to see that they're getting much more to the mythical, where I always think that Phase 1 was, Earth. It was based on Earth. It was the foundation. Phase 2 was the cosmic. We were introduced to the cosmos. Phase 3 could be the one where we're going to be introduced to the magic and the, phenomenal within, the mundane, which is a really good tie-in for Inhumans down the line, So... right now everyone's just concerned about who's going to play Doctor Strange. Yeah. Any thoughts on, casting?
Okay, obviously we've all been hearing the name Cumberbatch over and over again. I'm one of those who actually watches Sherlock. I love Sherlock.
Oh, really?
I did see him as Khan. I didn't care for that much.
Yeah.
I did see a bunch of his strange little indie films, and again, he was a good actor in it, but he just doesn't seem to get the right role. And I think this one will help him blow up. Because even in Desolation of Smaug, he doesn't have much of a presence other than his voice. He's just a giant dragon, which obviously people want to see the dragon, but you don't see Cumberbatch. And this one will be him. This one will be a movie centered on him, and I think it's great casting. I think that, I hope Benedict Cumberbatch gets it, and because I think he could be a good Doctor Strange. But then again, I know nothing about Doctor Strange other than he deals with a lot of, not teleports, but portals. He goes through a lot of dimensions. There you go. Yeah, so I know that he just crosses planes a lot. And obviously magic. He becomes the Sorcerer Supreme. So a bunch of little things, and I think that Cumberbatch just fits well. He could look old and he could look young, so I think that's very versatile.
Yeah. Hey, so this is interesting because I'm actually on the opposite side.
You're
Because
against Cumberbatch.
because I look, bar none, the guy is an incredibly talented actor, you know. But you brought up all the points why I don't like this casting. I saw Star Trek Into Darkness because I saw the first one, but I saw this one in theaters because of Cumberbatch. Because we knew he was going to be Khan. It was just they kind of gave it away way too easily, and I was like, man, this guy is a badass villain. Could be really cool. But he didn't sell me on it. It was just way too tame. It was way too safe. It was way too predictable. Is my problem. Neither did he even look like a villain. He looked kind of just like one of the rest of the cadets. You know, I guess that's the point. It's for him to kind of blend in. So in that phase, I mean, that was kind of good, but he didn't steal the show for me, which I expect of a villain with an actor of that kind of caliber, right? And then Desolation of Smile, boring. It was just really boring. Like, and the voice too. It sounded. I remember the first time I saw
a lot of hate.
Yeah, I know. I'm gonna get a lot of hate, but it's just look. At first, I was like, yeah, Benedict Cumberbatch, no brainer, right? But I've thought about it so much recently because I know everyone loves to jump on bandwagons, and that's what really just kind of throws me off, you know? Because I'm not really one for doing that kind of. I think neither of us are. We have to really kind of break it down. But you mentioned Smaug. I saw The Hobbit, the animated version, in middle school. Okay. And the voice of the dragon in the anime version sounds like Benedict Cumberbatch's. It's
really cool. I never saw it.
Yeah, it's really like if you got an actor off the street to hear, can you do a dragon voice? It was really boring, you know. Yeah, I would have liked to see someone like I can't remember the actor's name, but someone like the guy who played is it Ralph Fiennes? The guy who played Voldemort.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Ralph Fiennes, someone like that of like who is older, you know, who does look like he can play the part. I've seen a lot of juxtapose pictures and Photoshop pictures of him as Doctor Strange. He looks creepy, just straight up, just looks like a vampire. Yeah, because he's a really his structure and stuff. He's a really good looking guy, but he's a little bit too on the soft side. I think Doctor Strange has to look a little bit more like Robert Downey Jr. I think Robert Downey Jr. could have been Doctor Strange. He looks like Doctor Strange.
He does look like Doctor Strange.
Yeah, so that's my only issue with that. But I think I'll hold off judgment until we see a trailer. That's really going to be the part. I will say that I was one of the guys who was voting for Joaquin Phoenix as Doctor Strange.
Joaquin Phoenix would have been great.
I think it would have been twisted. It would have been dark. You have a horror director doing it, and Doctor Strange is kind of messed up, in the head, especially in his early version, So Benedict Cumberbatch, safe choice, but it's a good choice nonetheless. I'll be okay with it if it happens. Starting off 2017. Now, this is interesting because 2016 is the last year that we're gonna have 2 Marvel movies a year. Starting 2017, we're gonna have 3 Marvel movies.
A lot of movies.
Which is it's gonna be heavy. But we'll break down whether or not we are okay with that at the end of 2017. Thor Ragnarok in July 18th. If I'm correct, I think the Thor movies usually come out kind of late summer, if not even like kind of fall. So it's really early. It's kicking off the summer year for July, pretty early on. But Thor Ragnarok, just your impressions when you saw the title. I will say, by the way that they revealed all the title cards with the sound effects was really cool.
That was cool.
Yeah, especially Ragnarok, how they have the clouds just kind of go away. But anyway, when you heard Ragnarok.
Okay, once I heard the name, I thought Final Fantasy VII. Okay.
Yeah, which is really funny because I think a lot of people are thinking like Ragnarok, what does it mean? But I think Kingdom Hearts, I think Final Fantasy said like the abilities that you get. Anyway, go ahead.
Okay, so Thor Ragnarok, I didn't know what it was until I looked it up. I looked it up and I never read the storyline, but I do know what it is. So are you familiar with what it is?
Yeah, it means like the end of all things. I think is the exact definition.
Yeah, so this is the end of Asgard. So Loki makes a deal with some guy. I don't know his name. I forgot his name. I'm gonna get a lot of hate right now.
I think it's. He said Ragnarok, or I think Ragnarok's a sword that they use with.
Oh, cool! I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's one of those.
We'll call him Smaug.
Smaug.
Anyways, so what happens is that Loki makes a bad deal, I guess, and that makes the fall of Asgard. Hence why Thor has to go back because he's been hanging out on Earth a lot. So that's about it. It's the Loki show again because we love Loki. We need more Loki. So I'm sure it'll be the same as Thor: Dark World, where Loki and Thor kind of team up, and
Yeah, I honestly, the Thor movies are not the best of the Marvel movies in my opinion. I've never really, especially the first one was incredibly boring to me, incredibly boring. Visually, it's one of the best movies. Thor: The Dark World is visually is incredibly. The effects look really realistic, you know. But yeah, it's the Loki show. You know, people are obsessed with Tom Hiddleston. I've never been a fan of Loki. Never a fan of him in the comics, and not even a fan of him in the movies. I don't understand the obsession with Tom Hiddleston as Loki. He's a fine actor, I suppose, but the character to me is incredibly boring because he's not. You can't compare Loki to Thor, really. I mean, I think Marvel's done a good job of saying because he's gonna be in this movie, and I don't know if he's gonna be in Infinity War, but he could be.
I'm sure he will.
Yeah, he probably will be for both because again, that's kind of their ace in the hole.
Well, if you remember, Thanos gave him the Loki Pokey stick in the Avengers, so I'm sure Thanos is gonna count.
Yeah, he could be. He could, yeah, exactly. And I love the theory that you bring up because that could really work with why he has to go back to Asgard and why Asgard will fall. I wanted to see the Beta Ray Bill storyline because that's my favorite.
Supposedly he's in it.
Yeah, supposedly he's in it. But the thing is that again, people don't. I don't know what people are just calling off shots out of nowhere. But when you look back, Beta Ray Bill is not part of Ragnarok. He's actually part of a different storyline. Yeah. Well, it's because Ragnarok is actually like a machine version of Thor.
Yes, I remember that. There you go.
And Beta Ray Bill is, he looks like a horse.
Yes.
And he's actually my favorite Thor. More than this Thor. You know, and I remember when I played Marvel Ultimate Alliance, I'd always choose the Beta Ray Bill skin because he's my favorite character.
I remember him from Planet Hulk.
Yeah, you're right. He has a big part in Planet Hulk. Man, we're going Phase 4. That could be good. Yeah, I think if they do introduce, I'm okay with them introducing Beta Ray Bill as long as they get a good actor, and they really use him to be like that alternative to Thor. Because we know that Joss Whedon has said that the Avengers cast is going to change. That could be the replacement of Thor. So Beta Ray Bill could be a good one. I don't think it will be, but it could be a good option right there.
Yeah, I wonder. We got okay with raccoons and giant trees, so I think we'll be okay with horse people.
Yeah, horse people. I know. It's really, really crazy kind of stuff, but he's definitely my favorite version of Thor because he's the only one who's also worthy, So anyway, Guardians of the Galaxy 2 moved up from, I think later, June, July, something like that, to May 5th, 2017. I like the way that they announced it with
James Gunn.
I say Sean Gunn. What is wrong with the names today?
You just want to use Sean a lot.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know why. James Gunn. I like that kind of little video he did for everybody. My opinion, I think it's very clear. It's because Guardians of the Galaxy 2 is the best film of the year. That's highest grossing in North America of the year, and just kind of passed like the 750 mark or something like that. So this is $1 billion franchise at this point. There should be Guardians 2. There should be Guardians 3 because if Guardians 2 does not make $1 billion, Guardians 3 will. And I think that they see that. I think they're making an animated series to also follow the movie. I'm okay with that, I suppose.
Targeted for kids.
Yeah, which is, again, that's the one movie in this universe I think that's going to really call out to kids is this storyline is going to get much darker. You could have people dying off, that kind of stuff, and I think the anime series is kind of tie into that kind of nicely. So what are you expecting for Guardians 2?
So this, obviously we're going to find out who Star-Lord's father is, and they're going to change it. So I'm happy about that, because it could be so many people, because they're not going to follow anything. So it could be Adam Warlock. That's the introduction to Adam Warlock. It could be like tons of people. Like they could make it really weird, and they'll make someone in the Humans. It's and that could be the intro to that. It could be Captain Marvel. Like maybe that's a small intro or small glimpse at that, and then they see him, and then eventually leading off to other stuff. So there's that. Another thing that I noticed was that it's called Guardians of the Galaxy 2. Yes, I understand that it's a long title, so they can't add another subtitle. Right. So this is going to be their Iron Man. Iron Man 1, 2, and 3. So I guess Guardian will be that for space, I guess. Or however they're going to do it. At least that's my assumption.
That is a good point. It's the only new property that has found the same success, if not better. Cause I think it definitely outgrows Iron Man 1 by a long shot. Yeah, it's a good point.
And also numbers. You see
Yeah.
that it's actually numbered. Because I always wondered why Iron Man didn't have names like everybody
Yeah.
else.
Yeah, and I think it's because, again, like, Iron Man was a very underknown character. You know, he was one of your kind of favorites, right? Yours,
I really
yours
like
and
Tin
and
Man.
one of our cousins also a big fan of Iron Man. Would always kind of didn't understand why. You know, I like how they portray him. You know, but
He's
anyway,
always like a secondary character.
yeah, he's always been a secondary character, even in the Avengers. You know, he
Mhm.
wasn't. It was mostly about Captain America and Ant-Man. You know, so with the Guardians 2, I always liked the theory of, you know, Adam Warlock being his father, but now that we have Inhumans,
Mhm.
it could be something completely different. You know,
could be anything.
as you mentioned, you know, Captain Marvel, anything like that. Anything's up for grabs at this point. You know?
Could be Howard the Duck.
Yeah, it could. He could be an Inhuman. Midway through 2017, on May 5th, we have Guardians of the Galaxy 2. And I really like that video of James Gunn introducing Guardians of the Galaxy 2. What did you think?
So I think that James Gunn was in some strange hotel in the middle of nowhere. I don't understand what's going on. Supposedly he's in Tokyo, but I think he's just across the street.
Yeah,
Okay.
he's hiding somewhere.
He's in a hotel.
Yeah, I like that they bumped up a little bit, but I was still really surprised that it's about like 3 years away. You know?
Wow, I didn't even think of that.
Yeah, it's like 2 years and, you know, several months, but that's still kind of a long time to do a sequel for such a successful movie.
Then it makes me wonder, how long has Guardians 1 been in production?
Right.
Or pre-production? Because that was a massive movie. There was a lot of stuff in there, especially the worlds and obviously his research that he had to do for it.
Yeah,
Because this property...
bring it into film, yeah,
Mhm.
especially the way they did, because it's so different from the comics.
Yes, it was completely different than everything else. So now, this movie, I believe that it will be the next Iron Man, and by that I mean the numbers. So I believe that this will be the core film
Mm.
of this whole world. So obviously we got Doctor Strange. I guess Black Panthers would fit in it, but later on we got Captain Marvel, stuff like that. So I believe that this one is actually the one in space, but it is what Iron Man did, kind of like make the full arc.
Mm.
And that's why this one has numbers instead of names. It's either that or just that the name is way too long for Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think that what you're referring to, is the way that Iron Man 1 and 2 anchored Phase 1,
Mhm.
and everyone kept coming back for Iron Man, you know, Iron Man 3 and all that kind of stuff. Guardians is going to do the same thing for Phase 3, whereas it anchored Phase 2. Now everyone suddenly went from, you know, Thor was okay, Captain America was great, and Guardians of the Galaxy was just incredible. You know, not saying it was better than Captain America, but it just kind of blew everyone's mind. Like, now we're in this universe.
Yeah.
For everyone who wasn't in Phase 2, that's what Guardians did for 2. And it's going to be that anchor where people keep coming back to with 3. Seeing the Guardians, seeing if they're going to appear in Infinity Gauntlet, Infinity War, all that kind of stuff.
Here's another weird thing. This is me throwing it out into
Yeah.
space.
Out of the space.
Unintended. Okay. Is that in the comics, Iron Man is in Guardians of the Galaxy. So I believe that he's going to show up. He's going to show up because there's no more Iron Man movies.
Yeah.
So I believe he's going to be there. And Robert Downey Jr. did say, team movies are the movies. I think that was his hints for this. Even though Robert Downey Jr. needs to stop throwing hints because I'm sure Marvel's mad at him.
Yeah. He's kind of come out and said that he really wants to become like something of a producer, maybe someone that, because he feels like entitled to this Marvel universe. I don't know if I go that far.
Mhm.
You know, I think that it was the plan of, you know, Kevin Feige and the team that really allowed for all this kind of stuff to do. I mean, he is the perfect Iron Man, yeah, but I'm okay with not seeing any more Iron Man movies because, frankly, they're not my favorite in the entire Marvel universe. You know, although obviously incredible part of the Avengers, right? As far as him appearing in Guardians 2, he came out and said that he wants to do this like where it can go up to like the double digits.
Mhm.
You know, so I think he's saying like 10, maybe 10 movies. And if that's the case, I think they're definitely gonna cut his pay, and it does allow for him to appear in some of these movies. I don't think he would have a big part in Guardians 2 because I think it'd overshadow it.
That's true.
But I'd be okay with a cameo. I'd be okay with like a phone call, you know, like going to Iron Man, maybe the end credit scene where he's like, "Hey, we need you guys. What are you guys gonna decide on in Civil War, or something like that?" You know. Although then you're getting to Galactic, so yeah, pretty cool possibilities right there. I mean, Black Panther. I don't know. It's like you said. I mean, when I saw the title card and also you sent it to me immediately as well. I lost my mind. I almost like let out a scream just because again I'd known this movie was coming for a long time since the Age of Ultron. Totally gave it away. but I didn't expect it so soon. I didn't expect an announcement so soon. That's really what threw me off guard. I'm incredibly excited, and the important thing is that they're starting production now.
Yes.
They're getting into it now. As you can see, when they released that photo, like the loss, it lost my mind. It was incredibly like a surprise. I think it's probably safe to say my favorite Marvel character. Probably, he's right up there with Wolverine and Spider-Man for me. He's of like Marvel is Black Panther. Of the X-Men is Wolverine, you know, all that other kind of stuff. You know, Spider-Man, whatever. But Black Panther is the guy who, as I mentioned before, he can play the Spider-Man role. But most importantly, he's different than Spider-Man because Spider-Man is someone who, although very contemplated, he gives into a side at some point.
Yes.
Black Panther doesn't. He refuses to, and that's where you got to see Robert Downey Jr. and Chris Evans kind of going back and forth with him. So how crucial is Black Panther going to be in Phase 3?
See, we already get hints of him in Age of Ultron, and if they still keep to the story and they do everything it looks like they're going to do, is that the last Ultron will be vibranium. So, obviously, hence why Claw is there, hence the links to
Black Panther.
Yes. So,
yeah.
Oh, and all of you who wondered if you guys seen the actual thing that happened in Capitan, that whole event, this is what they gave you. This was the gift, this concept art, print of this concept art is what they gave you when they left, that free gift that Kevin Feige mentioned. And that's because they love this property. Obviously, they like this enough for it to be the highlight of the show.
Right. Yeah, it was the standout, I think, of the entire show that they have, as you mentioned. That and the Infinity War trailer, which we'll get to, is just brilliant. But yeah, some things to notice with Black Panther is with the costume itself. It's not funny because my favorite iteration of it is with the cape. But obviously he looks way too much like Batman already. So I think this is a nice turnaround because as you can see, it looks like he's almost like individually bandaged. You know? So it's kind of like a little bit more rural, much more like jungle. I want to see the Wakanda jungle and him going through that and fighting like these other guys, whatever. And he looks tough. He looks big. He looks really imposing. So it's really cool to see that kind of stuff. One thing to note is that with Claw, a lot of people refer to him as Ulysses Claw. He actually does become like a kind of a sound force that Black Panther does fight. So I think Andy Serkis could be a really good part of Phase 3 going on. So right after Black Panther, they dropped another bomb. Right after that, kicking off 2018, and they actually skipped one movie to release this picture first, Captain Marvel.
Okay, so this one was actually unexpected. We've heard things about Black Panther. At least I didn't think Captain Marvel at all. Okay, so it is Carol Danvers. So that just already showed that it's not Marvel. Well, obviously, it's not in the name. But it's just, and they're also skipping Mrs. Marvel, well, Miss Marvel, and they're just jumping into Captain Marvel. So this one, I believe, is going to be very heavily linked to Guardians of the Galaxy. I don't know if they're going to start her off here and then throw her out into space or however they're going to do this. I doubt they're going to do that because what Kevin Feige said a while ago, I don't know if he's still sticking to this, but no more origin stories.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
right.
So I don't believe this will be an origin story. I think they're just going to throw her in there. So I'm excited about that. Oh, also another thing about Black Panther is that he's going to make his first appearance in Civil War.
Yeah, good
point. And then he's making this movie. Yeah,
which is a really good point to drop him in. I wouldn't be surprised if, like in Age of Ultron, though, there will be a reference to T'Challa. There will be a reference to, as you mentioned, the vibranium, all that kind of stuff. With Captain Marvel, I think it was obvious at this point, like, no one wanted Marvel. I don't think even the fans of Marvel don't like Marvel because Carol Danvers is such an improvement on the character. She's tough, she's intelligent, she's a pilot, she fits the character much, although she's a colonel, but she fits that character much better than Marvel actually ever did, I like what they've done with Captain Marvel. So for them to come on and say Carol Danvers, I think that was just to kind of add more, full fuel to the fire. It was a nice kind of fan, I guess, treatment like that. But yeah, it was very obvious that if we were going to get Captain Marvel, it's going to be Carol Danvers. That's what everyone wanted.
Yeah. And this is very strange that it's not the Black Widow movie, which everybody was talking about.
Yeah. I love Black Widow, the character, and the way she's supported Iron Man, Captain America, and the Avengers movie, but didn't want to see a standalone regardless. But you're right, they could have utilized that, and it would have made a lot of money. for sure.
Yeah, but I think they made the right choice here.
Yeah, they're obviously they're playing the they want a woman character because DC has from the bat have been diversifying their cast. They wanted a black lead actor to do a superhero movie, and they're doing that with Black Panther. So I'm excited for it. As the interesting way we'll see to be how she's infused with the Avengers world and the Guardians. I think it's going to lead into this movie. Right here.
Yes.
I think the end credit scene of Captain Marvel is going to definitely be the moon, and we're going to see an Inhuman. I'm hoping Lockjaw, but it could be anyone. November 2nd, 2018 will be the third movie in 2018, The Inhumans.
Okay, so I know nothing about the Inhumans other than there's a guy who can't speak, and there's a girl with super cool hair named Medusa.
Yeah.
And other than that, this is supposed to be like that strange team. This is Guardians of the Galaxy without being normal. So this one's actually the full-on, like, crazy story. This is about a planet, and I guess it's like ruled by the Kree or something, and then they test in humans. I really don't.
Yeah, it's like I think they got a gene from gorillas or something like that, and they're based on the moon now, and yeah, they're like the descendants of Kree or something. So it's confusing. It's very confusing.
It seems like a huge story.
Yeah, it's a really interesting arc. Obviously, people are making references to the X-Men.
Yes, their answer to X-Men.
Yeah, it's possible that Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver are Inhuman.
They did call them as the Age of Inhumans.
Yeah. However, I mean, I don't know if they're necessarily going to go up to the moon with them, but they could actually reveal that they are Inhuman.
They're from here.
Yeah. Although in the comics they weren't ever Inhuman, so I don't know. Maybe they could just be miracles.
They're mutants.
Yeah.
Oh, that's what it was. It's miracles.
Yeah, Age of Miracles. So the way they introduce it, I think, will heavily be focused on Captain Marvel. I think the second half of Captain Marvel is going to be her setting up the foundation for Inhumans, because this one's going to need, again, if any of these movies are risky, it's this one.
It's huge risk. We thought Guardians of the
Galaxy was a risk. This one is like you're pushing some buttons here, but really good buttons in a way. I mean, yeah, you have Black Bolt.
That's the one.
Yeah, probably also my favorite, just because he's so deep, so like solemn and stuff. And then you also have Lockjaw the dog, who's not really a big player in the comics, but one of the more interesting characters who you can talk. Medusa, as you mentioned, a lot of people, I mean, it is like X-Men. There's a ton of characters you do. So I mean, yeah, if the interesting thing that I've heard is this could be their biggest play in Phase 4. Like, we may turn away from superheroes and go into the Inhuman kind of world. And we may see several of those kind of movies come out, So, but we have one more movie to talk about.
Oh, before that, this Inhuman talk. See, that they were talking about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. they have supposedly someone who may be an Inhuman or something to do with Kree blood. So, I guess this is also their way to link the two.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, they could, have some sort of communications with Inhumans, seeing if they're going to be involved in it. So, do you think they're going to be involved with the Avengers at all?
Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
No,
people?
Inhumans.
Are they humans? I don't think so. I think it's way too early, because this is a long ways ahead. So I think it's way too early for that. I think they have to start dropping the glimpses already, because obviously what they're showing here is that Marvel knows what they're doing. They have a plan. So the sooner the better when you start dropping hints, just so we could start picking it up, and then in the end, you were like, oh, yes! And you could go back and rewatch the movies, and you're like, it's there. Yeah,
a lot of good movies in Phase 3, but, I mean, my excitement went from up this whole entire phase, Avengers, Infinity War. When you saw that trailer, what were your thoughts?
That trailer was amazing. That trailer was just mainly cuts from other movies. You could see the build-up and stuff, talking about the Infinity Gems or Stones, whatever they decide to call it. And you just see the gauntlet just slowly turning, and then, of course, there we see the Josh Brolin face.
Yeah. I think that face was just from a different movie. I think, but they obviously imposed the gauntlet. I only counted 5 stones on it, which is really it was really driving me crazy. I mean, I know there's 6, but I kept counting only 5. But the trailer itself, was just so awesome. It was like so emotional, so deep, because you got to reflect on both phases and where we've come since Phase 3, man, it's just gonna be craziness. What I got from it though was, again, it was really interesting how we kept discussing where are you gonna go from Avengers 2 and where is Thanos gonna come in if we're gonna do this whole Civil War storyline. You have to push it back, and that is the result of that. 2 movies.
Yeah.
One big kind of event, I think it's an answer to Justice League Part 1, Part 2. What are your thoughts?
Okay, so I talked about this before. I talked about how Civil War may be the next Avengers movie, and then Infinity, what I think I called it Gauntlet at the time. Infinity Gauntlet would be this other story. So I thought this was really cool that they actually just said, it's here. The splitting of 2 movies is very strange for me.
Yeah.
It's going to be Infinity Wars 1, Part 1, and then it's going to be Captain Marvel and Inhumans, if I remember, and then Infinity War Part 2. So I guess the first one will be this battle against as many people as they can get, and they found out that's not enough. Then we get introduced to the Inhumans and stuff, and then that makes it a bigger universe. So, because Thanos is supposed to do this giant galactic scale, he's destroying everybody in the universe.
Right.
So it's just so many things you could touch on, so many things you can do. This is just a huge, huge event. What's going to happen after this? I don't know. I guess we shouldn't talk about it because this itself is a long ways ahead.
Yeah, well, let's touch on that lightly because we're supposed to get 3 Marvel movies now, and 2019 is the only one that they only have 1, right? So where does Phase 4 go? We're not going to go way too deep right now, but I mean, there's no Hulk movie, no Vision movie. Yeah. But I don't think there's going to be anywhere in this slate at least.
Yes,
right?
yes.
So that's why you mentioned, right? It could be Phase 4, right? There's no Hulk, no Vision, no Ant-Man, no Quicksilver, and Scarlet Witch. Because much like I think they should be Inhumans, I don't think they will be. So that's 5 different characters we're going to be introduced in, and they have no standalone films. Not every character has to have a standalone, but where else are they going to appear? They will be here in Infinity War. I think everyone will be here. The one person I think may not be in there is Doctor Strange because
Interesting.
I'm not sure how he's gonna fit into the Avengers world necessarily. He's someone very kind of just a one shot by himself.
Like Ant-Man. Well, no, Ant-Man could show.
Well, yeah, Ant-Man's gonna be here, but I mean that's we don't know because they're playing off Ant-Man so lightly. We've heard like nothing of it, So if it works, I think he will be in it. If it just fails, as it's possible that it could, at least critically, it'll make money, of course, but maybe he won't be here in Infinity War at all, and I'm not really too sure. So a lot of possibilities, but I think the only way you get bigger than Thanos, of course, is Planet Hulk.
Yes.
Or Secret Wars.
That's gonna happen. That has to happen, okay? Because we need Planet Hulk and then World War Hulk. That just needs to happen. Little nerd, wet dreams. So yeah, that's because what are you gonna do after this? Like, this is such a huge event, and this is in a galactic scale. So after this, you either have to do a Marvel versus DC, which I doubt will ever happen. Right. And then what else can you do from there? There's just nothing else. And you mentioned Secret Wars, but I'm so against Secret Wars. Yeah. I'm so against Secret Wars.
I mean, yeah, the original one was just a mess, But I mean, you could just rework it and just use that title, Secret Wars. That's how you once again get everyone to face off in a true fashion, and you get dimensions with. That would be the way I think Doctor Strange can fit into his universe well. Is with Secret Wars, where he opens up to some dimensions or portals. But I will say that before everyone jumps on the bandwagons again, the one character I want to see the most is Moon Knight. I think I think him, along with some rebooted characters, could be another Ghost Rider or another Blade. I would love to see kind of something like that, but not sure where the properties lie. But I think it's Fox. I'm not really sure.
I don't remember who owns Blade.
Yeah,
I remember watching them.
It could be something like that, but anyway, any final thoughts?
No, but I like this. I'm happy for it. I'm excited.
Yeah, same here. So thank you guys for sticking with us. I know it was a lengthy video, but there's so much content to work with, and obviously we have so much, so many years to follow this through and kind of give you our thoughts, opinions. But we really want to hear your opinions, your thoughts, and what you guys are looking forward to most with this Phase 3 universe. So keep it locked to Goodbye Deli.